Do you or someone you know wear religious jewelry in public?
Yeah, I wear a rosary beads to bless me and keep God around, to keep my faith up, keep the demons away from me. Some people think it's cool. They think it look nice, I guess. So I wear it regardless of what people think.
Crosses, crucifixes, I think they're accepting of it. Like, you want to show your religion. It's not like you're telling them what to do, so they don't really care.
I have a couple crucifixes of my own, and a lot of people do. Like, even Jewish people wear the star, and it's fine. Like, you're open with sharing your religion, you know, and I think that's good. That's fine. That's what you believe in, so you should be proud of it.
Some people wear crosses, but they look at it like they're just wearing some sort of jewelry. Some people always look at it like a faith thing.
I know a lot of people that wear like chains with crosses on them and things like that. And it's not uncommon to see it. I don't think anyone really even questions it.
My mom actually wears a cross. People probably look up to her for it because everybody's scared to say what kind of religion they have, you know?
I think, wearing crosses and religious jewelry, it's a really great thing. If you wear a cross proudly and with sincerity, it's a great way to show your religion. I know it helps to remind me to live my faith every day.
I'd say something as simple as wearing a t-shirt with a Catholic message on it can really just get you in the right frame of mind to thinking about your day, and also shows other people that you're not afraid to be Catholic or to be religious at all. You can express it very easily.
Although these items might be outward signs of our religious beliefs,
it is our everyday actions that show the world that we are called to discipleship in the Catholic faith.
Living your faith in the public arena. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Jess.
And I'm Mark.
And this is Real Faith TV. Our spotlight guest today is 3-time Emmy-Award winning actor Martin Sheen, who will share with us how his Catholic faith has inspired him to become an activist for numerous humanitarian and political causes.
We'll meet him a little later in the show, as well as meet our studio guests.
But first, let's go back to the teens on the street and find out whether they feel it's better to make your beliefs public or to keep them private.
Let's check it out.
Do you think you ought to keep your beliefs private or bring them into a public discussion?
Keep them private.
Definitely public discussion.
It's really up to the person, Everyone's different. They have their own views, so.
I think it's good to public discussion because it's good for people to know about God because He is real.
I think it really depends on who else is in the room with you.
If you're in a room full of people with totally opposite beliefs than you and you're going to start spouting your own, you're just sort of looking for trouble. But if you're around a pretty mixed group of people where there could be an intelligent conversation about it, then definitely bring your beliefs out to the table.
I don't want to have a fight about it. I don't want to try to push my beliefs on someone. Just if they ask me about it, sure, I'll tell them. It's nothing to hide.
If you're open with that, you could talk about it with your friends. I talk about it with my friends, I think that's a good thing.
Discussion is always healthy. It's just the forum that it's discussed in.
Does peer pressure discourage teens from being vocal about their opinions or beliefs?
Yes.
In what way do you think so?
I think some kids are afraid of what they think and they don't want to put it out there because they'll think people will judge them.
Everybody's just scared to say what they want and say what's on their mind,
Some teenagers really look down upon it. They're like, oh yeah, God, no, whatever. You're so conservative now. You're not a real teenager. You don't like to party or anything. You're not fun, but really you're just a normal person. You just believe in a different religion.
That you should just stick to what you believe in and not do something because someone else tells you to do it.
I really agree with what that one girl on the street had to say. She said, I'm not going to push my beliefs on anyone, which I completely agree with. But if somebody asks me about it, I'm definitely going to tell them everything that I can and everything that they want to know.
It's really true. I'm not going to try to hide my beliefs or try and tell someone differently of that. I'm just going to let them know who I am and who I believe in and what I stand for. And there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. Let's see what our studio guests have to say about this topic.
They are John, Casey, Kira, Marie, Alex, and Dan.
So, do you find it difficult to live your faith in a public forum?
I don't think it's been difficult for me at all. When I'd grown up, I went to a Catholic school all my life, so I was always able to surround myself with people who are like me and be able to express my faith in a setting that I wasn't intimidated by.
Yeah, me too, because I grew up with a lot of people around me who are Catholic, so we just share our same beliefs and we talk about it together.
I come from a big Catholic family, but I go to a public school that's very, very, very diverse. So in school, I don't really feel as comfortable with being very open about it, but at home and in youth group, I feel very comfortable.
Like what John said, I went to a Catholic school too, so I never really had a problem with it because everyone around me was always very open with their religion.
I also went to a Catholic school, and I just was so immersed with the Catholic faith, and I'm proud to be a Catholic. I think I want to spread my word about Jesus with everyone.
You know, I think it's a matter of strength. The stronger you are, the easier it is to share your faith with everybody.
I think, a really important aspect is to know that you aren't just supposed to talk about Jesus and tell people about your faith. You're supposed to live it. You're supposed to be a good person and live like God wants you to. At the most basic level, our Christian faith requires us to live as Jesus taught us to live, spreading love, justice, and forgiveness.
How we live in public should be deeply affected by our core beliefs.
That doesn't mean we have to walk around preaching or convincing others to believe the way we believe.
Our actions tell others who we are and what we're about.
Our spotlight guest, Martin Sheen, known best for his role in The West Wing and numerous blockbuster films, is a shining example of living his Catholic beliefs openly and honestly.
Let's meet him now and see how he keeps his faith central to everything in his life.
I don't really separate any part of my life. When you begin to separate one part of your life and compartmentalize one part of your life from another, then you become fragmented. The ideal way to go about it is be inclusive, to unite the will of the Spirit, which is our deep longing for our freedom to be ourselves, our freedom to become ourselves, to the work of the flesh. I don't think you can be in one that avoids the other. I think you become unbalanced and you do more harm than good. The bottom line is to become yourself in all things. I'm a father as I talk to you, as much as I am a brother to my brother John, as a husband I am to Janet, as a friend I am to Jim, as a Catholic I am sharing a community, as I am an activist, as I am an actor, and we share a love of theater, of performing. And I don't separate any of that. And I think that is a major problem. When you start separating yourself, wow, today I'm an actor, I'm hanging out with this crowd, they all do this way, I'll do that. Well, you wouldn't do that at home. Well, today I'm this. You know what I'm saying? I think the whole idea is to unite every part of your being so that you become whole and healthy. And that's really the only way that we can become ourselves.
Martin talked about uniting the will of the Spirit with the work of the flesh.
As citizens in a democracy, it's our obligation as Catholics to speak out on issues concerning life, family, social justice, and global solidarity.
The U.S. Catholic Bishops' document, Faithful Citizenship, states,
Catholics are called to be a community of conscience within the larger society,
and to test public life by the moral wisdom anchored in the Scripture and consistent with the best of our nation's founding ideals.
Is it always easy to be both a good citizen and a good Christian?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
A faithful Catholic and a respectful citizen, they go in hand because as a Christian you're supposed to be friendly, like upstanding member of society, and when you're following the Christian laws, then you're following like the country laws, the citizen laws, you're helping people. Yeah, you're a good citizen.
Absolutely. If there's a will, there's a way.
You can use your faith to, live your daily life, so it makes you a better person if you live by your faith.
You can be following your religion completely and then be a completely horrible, mean person by still following it. So it really depends on the person itself and what they take it to.
Your beliefs affect all your decisions. And being a good citizen involves making good decisions and being able to lead a good lifestyle. And Christianity and Catholicism and all that promotes leading a good lifestyle, so it helps you be a good citizen in the end.
Did your faith encourage you to speak out against injustice?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it does.
I think it would make you speak out against it because that's what you believe in, so you should stand up for what you believe.
My moral background tells me certain things are right and certain things are wrong, and if I see something that's blatantly against what I believe in, I feel like I should say something about it.
If I see something wrong, I'm gonna say something. I'm not gonna hold it in, especially if I'm because I'm very religious and I'm trying to make it right. So I'm go to the right spot after I die.
Injustices, sure, it comes out because being fair to people, being nice to people, you just have to look out for one another.
I think, being a good citizen, it could be defined in a couple ways. Some people could say, it means following all the rules in the community. But sometimes, when you're speaking out against injustice, people may consider that breaking the rules. And I think, my faith does tell me to speak out against injustice.
And I agree with a lot of the teens on the street where they said that you can be a good citizen and a good Christian. And I think you really have to be a good Christian because that gives you the morals and the ability to be a good citizen in the world.
You know, I was taking an ethics course when I was still in high school, my senior year, and we were debating sweatshops. Sweatshops in general are wrong, and this is something that I really stand for, to speak out against. And I made a statement about some of the clothing stores that use sweatshops, and everybody in the class looked at me like, oh, I'm still shopping there because it's a good thing. I'm like, every time that you shop at one of these stores, you're supporting the injustice that's going on there. So I just speak out against it, and I won't wear it, and I try to educate others to do the same.
I know at my church, we all signed not a petition, but a letter to Congress to help stop abortion, and that's something I definitely, like myself, feel very strongly about, and I was very glad to help.
I went to a week-long retreat, and the slogan for the retreat was, "Faith without works is dead," and I really believe that. Everyone should do little community service, wherever they can, where they live, because Jesus was always doing that, and maybe he got in trouble for it, but he still did it because that's what you're called to do as a Christian.
Just one simple lesson I live by is giving back to the community through your faith. Through my church youth group, I went to clothing drives and helped at the Meridian home. It's a nursing home. It felt so good inside just to live by that one simple lesson. I helped others.
I was always brought up that you should treat everybody as if, the way Jesus would want you to treat them. So especially in high school, I got really, really involved with Key Club. Up until my last year of high school, I got involved up to a state level, and we worked a lot with Alex's Lemonade Stand that supports pediatric cancer research. And as a district, we raised $96,000 to really help pay for operations for children and for research. And I think it's important to include in everything you do some sort of giving back to the community. We did variety shows for school that would support Toys for Tots and Broadway Fights AIDS and things like that.
I think it's really great that you bring up all these different ways you can give back. And I know personally I'm a volunteer firefighter, so I'm able to give back to the community by helping in that aspect. And it's really good to go and fight social injustice in any way that we can in our own communities. Next, Martin Sheen talks about his role in promoting social justice.
Let's take a look.
Well, it's just, for me, it's a natural progression. The things I do for social justice are reflections of what we are commanded to do, encouraged to do from the scriptures, from our faith. Feed the hungry and clothe the naked and visit the sick and bury the dead and do justice, and you can't be far off the path if you're doing those things. But you also do it because you cannot not do it and be yourself. It's hard to do something destructive and feel creative. It's hard to do something creative and feel destructive. And I was remembering a little story. A very good and well-respected man, a very successful man, came up to the gates of heaven and applied for entry, and St. Peter came down to meet him and said, well, what can we do for you? He said, well, I've led a pretty good life. I think I'm entitled to come in. And St. Peter said, let's find out about that. Show us your scars. And I said, I don't have any scars. And St. Peter says, oh, what a pity. Was there nothing worth fighting for? So I think that, we're not here to just get as much as we can and be as comfortable as we can. I think we're here to develop as well as we can as human beings. And that involves service to the community, whether you're Christian or not. I think that your faith should cost you something if it's valuable. If it doesn't cost you anything, you have to question its value. I think we have to be honest about the image of what we profess as Christians and the reality of what we do in our lives as individuals, as a culture, as a nation. I think we have to accept responsibility for that. If you can just go along and not, get involved, not rock the boat, not be encouraged to change, to grow, to suffer, literally, to suffer, to become different, to conspire with others for justice.
I really like how Martin said that our faith has to cost us something. And every time I go to a mass or an adoration or even just look at a cross, I'm reminded how Jesus dying on the cross cost him everything and it gave us eternal life. And what greater price can anyone pay than giving their life to something? And it's a great motivation every day to just wake up and realize that God did that for all of us.
Once we understand the sacrifice that Jesus made for us, we realize that we too have to make sacrifices. We have to sacrifice our time to help educate people and do community service. What are some ways we can live out our faith and work for justice?
At my school, we have a 4-day retreat that the juniors and seniors are invited to participate. It's called the Urban Challenge Retreat. And all the participants, it's so cool. They just drop everything and you spend 4 days in Camden with people in homeless shelters, people that are sick, and you hear their stories. And I never had the opportunity to go, and I regret that. But for the stories that I've heard that people share, it's an awakening inside you that renews your faith and just makes you feel so thankful for everything that you have.
You know, I can think about scripture where, Jesus is watching everybody put their money for the church, and all these rich people come along, they're donating a ton of money, and then this old poor woman comes and puts her 2 little coins in. And I just think about it, and Jesus says, she is given more than anybody else can because she actually gives from what nothing she has. And if we can just learn to empty ourselves out that much that we can give till we have nothing left, then that's what Jesus wants for us.
Yeah, this girl at my school, she didn't really believe in God, and everyone else was like, "Oh my gosh, she's bad," stuff like that. And she was the nicest girl in my class. And I just hung out with her and stuff like that. And at the end, I taught her about some things that God did, and she started believing a little bit by little.
More like what Dan was saying, my school, I feel like it's very cliquey, so I always try to include everyone in activities. I'm very spirited for my class, so I'm always try to get everyone to go to all the pep rallies and football games, just so we can all be cohesive and one strong class. And I feel that's even people may think, wow, she's really weird for trying to include every single person, but everyone should have a good experience. So I feel even I'm sacrificing what people think of me.
I know I actually heard about a youth group. They look down on other people because they didn't have the same label, I guess. So, some people, myself included, band together, and we were like, that's not right, Jesus wouldn't turn people away. We're all equal, and he loves us all.
It definitely takes a lot to stand up for what you believe is right and for you to not just jump on the bandwagon with everyone else and to actually be there and sacrifice for what you believe is right. Some people think that Christianity is all about being nice. And while it's true that Jesus taught us to love our neighbor and to be generous and patient, that's not the whole picture.
Jesus' teachings and actions were revolutionary, and the world condemned him for that message.
Sometimes we forget just how courageous Jesus was in speaking out for the oppressed and confronting those in powerful positions. He was asking his followers to turn the world upside down.
Think of the Beatitude, "Blessed are the poor." That teaching is just as countercultural today as it was in Jesus' time.
It's about making choices that are daring and brave and rooted in justice and equality.
Next, Martin Sheen discusses how Jesus' ministry and the formation of the early church is an example to all of us.
And how taking a righteous stance often means going against popular opinion.
For all I do, the best effect I've ever had on anyone, maybe the only effect, is on myself, And I do what I do because I cannot not do it and be myself. I'm never comfortable really unless I'm uncomfortable. As I get comfortable, I get nervous. I think, wait a minute, I should wake up. There's something I should be doing or not doing. One of the great difficulties with being a Christian is being in the most popular side of an issue. Being on the side that's winning. Jesus was an itinerant rabbi, and he taught the love of the law, not the letter of the law. And so it was very difficult for that early group of radical Jewish people who followed him to find their own way, and that's what they called it, the way. We want people in our lives that inspire us. We want to see people that we work for or love or aspire to be, who are better than we, who make us do things that we would rather not do. But because they're doing them, we realize it's possible, and we can become something that we can only dream about. We can be something that we're meant to be. I think God puts people in our lives that anger us and upset us and force us to do things that we would rather not do because we're naturally lazy and frightened, and yet we see someone come along and say, oh, what's he got? I want to be like that. Watch it. Before you know, you're following this character and you're in jail or you're in the fields or you're doing some kind of work that you never, and suddenly you become changed. Something else happens. You begin to realize something about yourself that was there and never nourished ever before. And you realize, oh, I'm meant to be something better than just somebody who wants to be comfortable or, unbothered. Jesus was a radical. They didn't kill him because he was a nice guy. They killed him because he was demanding change, and his life was an example.
I know this year I went on a trip to Camden, and it was over my spring break, so at first I was kind of like, I don't want to waste my spring break or whatever. But, when I went, I was like, okay, I'm going to do some good stuff, help people out. And the first day I went out, we helped the people of Camden, and I saw what they had to go through, and it was really upsetting to me. Like, I was really hurt by it. And, as the week went on, I got more tired, and I had to keep going out and helping people. And it really, disturbed me because I saw what they had to live through, and I just couldn't believe that people were living like that. And so, after the trip, I expected to have that, wonderful feeling that I did something good. And, I know I did do something good, but I felt like, I needed to do more because just, their living situation was just so bad.
Yeah, I know, what you said, you didn't want to give up your time. My parish had a clothing drive over a weekend during, February, and I didn't really want to go, but I went, and we collected a lot of clothes, and we did help the people, but we didn't, even though we helped them a lot, they can still use a lot more, and I did feel bad that I really didn't want to go.
My parish youth group held a trip to Meridian Nursing Home, and at first I was expecting, okay, I'll make these people feel better, but then once I got there, we played a couple games with them, sang them a few songs. These people have no one. I noticed that as soon as we got there, they were so excited that we got there because no one comes to visit them. They were all so excited. It drained me completely. I mean, it really changed my outlook on how spoiled I am that I have everyone around me just to go visit them, and then these people have nothing.
I think an important thing that everyone has been saying was they feel empty and drained and unsatisfied, they should be doing more. And I think when you get that feeling inside, as opposed to the good butterfly squishy feeling, I think the empty, drained, unsatisfied is so much better because that's when you really did something and what you've seen and the people you've helped have really hit home. So I think that's such an important feeling that we that everyone should understand.
Acting in accordance with Christ's teaching about the love of a neighbor and forgiveness can be difficult.
But Jesus asks us to follow him, and like the earliest disciples, it requires sacrifice.
In fact, the Christian life is full of sacrifices.
It's easy to stockpile our riches and neglect the needs of the poor.
It's easy to choose our own convenience over what is good for everyone.
But Jesus calls us to sacrifice what we have for others, from our material possessions to our energy and time.
Finally, Martin Sheen talks about making these kinds of sacrifices.
And how faith sometimes leads you to situations and places you'd rather not go.
I do these things that take me places that I'd rather not go. That phrase, when I see the cup coming, I say, oh, Lord, I'm not home. Or, I see it coming, I say, oh, geez, can you pour some out? Could you put some sugar in it? Oh, please, I don't want it. And yet I know you have to accept the cup as offered, not altered. Otherwise, you don't become yourself. You don't earn your freedom. You don't realize your potential for realizing your own freedom. And I think that's important. And I think all of us are commanded to do that by our conscience, by our inner life. I only do maybe a fraction, maybe 0.5% of the things that I'm invited to do. Yeah, you can't do everything. But very often I realize that I feel put upon. And yet I know that not to do that, I'm throwing away an opportunity to grow in an area that I need to go. Because, I get a lot of people come into my lives. Why do I pick a specific one to do so, to respond to, do something? Because I know instinctively or even subconsciously, but more often consciously, that is going to force me out, make me do something I would rather not do. And as a result, I grow, It's like we have two wolves inside us that are battling it all the time. Which one wins is the one that you feed the most, If you feed your fear and your anger and your resentment, your greed, that wolf will gobble up your humanity, your compassion, your love, We're not asked to be successful. We're only asked to be faithful. And we're not asked ever to do great things. We're only asked to do all things with great love. And in the long run, when we leave this mortal coil for the next journey, the only things we can take with us are the things which we cherished and gave away with love, including our precious time.
I really agree that we have to be conscious of what we do with our faith and with our time, because it really reflects a lot about who we are.
It really does. I really like what he was saying about the wolves, because there are so many aspects to who we are, and being a person of faith, that's one of the wolves we have, and I think that's the wolf we need to feed the most.
I agree. Our faith affects the decisions we make about everything in our lives, although it may not seem immediately obvious.
Just from one small area of our public lives, we can raise many spiritual and ethical concerns.
How we use our time, talents, and treasure can make all the difference in how we are seen by the rest of the world.
We bring our faith wherever we bring our most virtuous self, the self that we know God is so proud of.
If our hearts are full of the love and the forgiveness that God bestowed upon us, we can spread the good news in ways never thought possible.
How do you live your faith in public?
We'd like to know. Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And we'll leave you today with a passage from St. Paul's letter to the Colossians, chapter 3.
Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and beloved,
clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience.
Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another.
Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV. God bless.
This episode of Real Faith TV was underwritten by a grant from Our Sunday Visitor Institute, publishers of Our Sunday Visitor weekly newspaper, other Catholic publications and products since 1912.